Welcome to Self-Perfected.
What is the root of blame?
I wasn't ready.
She wasn't ready.
I was like, what are we going to talk about today? Drake goes, yeah, I don't know, but let's go ahead and start recording. I'm like, wait, no, that's.
That's how we do it. I thought,
Yeah,
no,
you're right. You're right.
We could crowdsource. Everyone leave a comment what you want us to talk about.
No, I already know what we're going to talk about. Let's start off with the Will Smith thing. Let's start with that.
Oh, you just want to jump right into it.
And then we'll work our way into all the other things. Right?
No chit chat.
I did not yet see the Will Smith thing.
Oh, let me explain it
But
to
I
you.
am reading iRobot.
Oh, that's
You
basically
should have
like,
seen.
I
finally
was
pulled the
pretty
trigger.
pleased. Yeah.
On my whole freaking Amazon cart, it had like all these books because Drake is like, you got to read this Neil Stevenson book and all this shit. And I'm like,
you
It's
have
like
to.
$12,170. He's like, I own every science fiction book ever published now.
yeah,
Bruh.
yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
this
I have not got fall in the mail yet.
I
Fucking
finished
Amazon
it.
Prime.
I
Yeah.
finished it, and it was great. It was great all the way through. Although to me, I don't really like the ending so much. It's just like I wanted more in the ending because
Wow. Thanks
when
for
you get to the
the
last 100 pages.
See, you're so much like Katie. Like, she's exactly the same way. I'm like, I don't give a shit about the ending. Who cares?
Shut
That's
up.
the end.
Shut up.
I don't care about that. Like, it
Shut
doesn't
up.
matter.
Shut up. It's gotta be
I like
good.
the first 5 pages, get hype, and then throw it on my bookshelf.
So anyway, the book was really great. And then afterwards, I just handed it to Christine because she started reading like Catch 22 or whatever, and I'm like,
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm like, oh, I see you're kind of like a little ways into it. She's like, no, I only started reading the first pages. She's like,
That's when you can put down and pick back up later.
Right.
You don't have to really.
And so she's like, can you bring me a book? Because she's like holding Hazel or whatever. So I brought her Fall, and then I just hope
She's like, something I can actually physically hold right now, not a 1,000-page tome.
Right. But anyway, she started flipping through the first pages, and then like next thing I know, she's like on page 14. She's like, oh, this is easy to read. Like I like this one. It's different from like Snow Crash and all those other ones, but
Okay.
highly recommended, Mitch. Highly recommended.
It's coming in the mail. It just for whatever
But
reason. it
read
didn't get the
iRobot.
Prime.
Do the Asimovs first.
Right.
Fall can wait.
I'm doing
You
all
know-
of them at the same time, actually.
Yeah.
No, Mitch,
Oh.
Mitch. Wait,
Yeah, I'm
have
hardcore.
you even finished? I gotta ask. Have you even gotten halfway through Otherland?
No, I'm on page 200.
I
But
knew
here,
it.
no, okay.
Hold on.
I
Wait.
was
You're
reading
saying
it-
you're going to multitask like 5 different things?
Yes,
here?
I am. I enjoy it a lot in a very weird way.
I have
enjoy
done
the
that
multiple
before
story.
at times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was reading Otherland with Jess and Aristotle out loud. No, like just too
Just
much.
read it to yourself.
Too much. I am.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's probably
I got
too
to
much.
page 210 before I realized I should just read this to myself, and then Jess can have her own bookmark. So we each are reading it now.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, let Mama read to the baby. Come on. We don't have time for this.
I don't read to Christine except for like if I'm reading my book, she'll listen to excerpts of me reading my book to her.
Yeah.
But then she's got her own, like we're on different reading schedules.
Yeah, it's just you read so much slower when you read out loud. So that's why.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's taking me forever to get through Otherlands. Now I'm like
Oh yeah.
blazing through that shit. Yeah,
Nice.
but
It's good.
iRobot. I noticed in the first short story, the Robbie one,
The Robbie one, yeah.
Yeah.
right off the bat, it like shifted something within me
Ooh.
because it was like I felt the way he portrays it. I don't know if it's intentional, but I immediately felt compassion for the robot. It was weird. I've
Hmm.
like never had that because it's just fucking robot. I was like, whoa,
Oh, dude,
whoa.
these books are gonna tear you up. If you felt compassion for Robbie, oh, just wait.
That's a great point.
I like
That's a
need
great
Kleenex. I'm
point.
just kidding. No, but that was I never had that experience before. As I was like, oh, it's just fucking robots.
Have you read all of them, Drake? Have you read all of them?
No, I've not read all of them. I read
Okay.
the iRobot, just that first book. And then we have all the other ones.
We haven't read like all the robot novels.
No,
Okay.
no.
I was gonna try to like inside reference something to you, but I wasn't sure.
No. I'm gonna start reading those next because Christine suggested that.
They're good. All of those are good, man. And
I
then
like-
even like there's the Galactic Empire. There's like these 3 books in the like between robots and Foundation. And they just seem so randomly different, but they're still good. And then after you read them and you start getting into Foundation, you're like, Oh, now I see what the relevance is to them because it seems like such a
Okay.
random shift into like a whole nother place or something.
So-
I don't think
but
I
they're
don't
good.
think
Did you
Christine's
read-
read the Galactic Empire, but we have the Foundation series as well.
No, you should read, but you should read all the robots first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then Galactic Empire.
She's read all
then
the
Foundation.
robots, and
Like all
then-
the novels, like
yeah,
Caves
yeah,
of
yeah.
Steel, all that.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So she'll get the reference.
Did you
Like
read these with
right,
Max?
right, Christine. Whenever I was saying like when Mitch was saying he like felt compassion for Robbie, but there's a part in those novels where even Max and I kind of like teared up when we were reading them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
About
Pull your
robots.
heartstrings.
But it was cool because I had to explain to him like what the character was. I was like, notice how we're feeling emotional about these points. These things are not even real.
Mhm.
They're
wait.
just characters that are imaginary that we have created an attachment to, like a relationship to. So it's a cool point to like walk through and explain.
So speaking of which,
Speaking of
Will
relationships,
Smith.
yes.
Okay,
yes,
can someone
and
give me the
character
background? Because I don't even know. I
Let me-
just
let me
remember
tell you a
Will
story.
Smith. Will Smith was kind of cool. Then then he slapped Chris Rock. That's really all I know.
That's all you know. Okay, all right, all right.
And he's acting like a bitch apparently.
Let
that
me
is
help you
all I
out,
know.
Mitchell. Mitchell, let me help you. Okay, so
let me tell you about West Philadelphia.
yeah, born and raised on the playground. So where I spent most of my days. Anyway, okay, so you know Will Smith, he was cool. He was the Fresh Prince. The Fresh
Yeah,
Prince.
Miami.
There's
That was a
songs-
banger.
Yeah, songs written
Actually,
about
it really
Will Smith.
wasn't. It was just kind of cringe, but whatever.
No,
What
no, no,
was?
no, 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 no. He
You
said
know when
the
he
What
song,
was?
started rapping?
"Welcome to Miami, bienvenidos a
But people
Miami."
still
Yeah.
played it and stuff.
Yeah,
Bro.
yeah.
Listen, if you lived down here, that is a straight banger. That would just play
Hey,
on the radio
hey,
all the
Well,
time.
okay, just real quick tangent. This was really funny. This was brought up yesterday at a clubhouse. There was one person there was like, we were talking about things you value, but she's like, yeah, isn't it funny? Like sometimes you'll have a song you hate, but you're still like dancing to it, and that is Miami for me. So
Mm.
anyway, keep going.
Okay. Well, let me tell you more. So, obviously, Will Smith, for our generation, for millennials, he is the fucking shit, right?
Hey,
He's
wasn't that the name of his album? Oh, it was
What?
Millennium.
millennium. Yeah, something like
Whatever.
that. I don't know. I don't
Mitch
know.
even knows the album names. I think he's kind of downplaying his
Yeah,
session
yeah,
with
yeah.
Will Smith.
What you don't
I
know
didn't
is
get
in the
that.
background on my headphones, I'm actually listening to Will Smith. 'Cause
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's obvious.
you
It's
guys better
obvious.
not talk shit about Will Smith.
You're obsessed with Will.
You
Obviously.
think that's his
Anyway,
real name?
William?
Will Smith?
I don't know. But
Sounds
did you
like
know,
fucking-
first off, did you know that he was supposed to, or he got accepted into MIT? Did you know that? He got accepted into MIT?
I don't study Will Smith, so I did not know that, but now I know that.
Well, you should know that now. so just so
Hey,
you know.
fitting. He was into, iRobot. Like,
So he's not like just some like dumb guy or whatever. I don't think
no,
people
he's yeah.
consider him as
like
dumb,
he's-
but he's actually like, okay, to get into MIT, you gotta be.
I
at
walked
least
right
above
into
average.
MIT one time, Drake. Just like I walked into Harvard.
Have you actually been to MIT?
Yeah, I literally walked into MIT. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I got allowed it. I got accepted into MIT.
Oh, whoa.
I also was accepted into Harvard as well. Just
Yeah.
just like
It's easy. You just like open the door, like they let you in. It's not a big deal.
yeah,
Um,
Actually,
So-
pretty nice in there.
what are you doing?
yeah,
She's like got her head underneath the water. You know, like those water dispenser things. She's like,
yeah. That's funny.
yeah. Can you shut the door over there, Senna?
So anyway, Mitchell. So basically, Will Smith, he's really cool for a while. I remember very distinctly, I was talking with one of my friends many years ago, and this friend was talking about like how he wanted to stop serial dating a bunch of women and settle down, right?
Mhm.
And at that time, just for our listeners, I was very different. Okay. I didn't change until I got Techno Cheater. But at that time, right, I was very much just like, settle down, please. You could have just an open relationship and that'll just be fine. And I remember this friend was like, open relationship. Like, no, man, I want a relationship like Will Smith. And I was like, dude, he's got an open relationship. And then we looked it up and it was like, Will Smith and Jada have an open relationship, blah, blah. He's like, oh, wow. Okay. I guess that's what I wanted. I guess that is possible, right? If Will Smith could do it, we could all do it, right? Turns out we were very wrong about this. They called it an open relationship, but apparently, this is what Jada said in a recent interview. Apparently, Will and Jada have been separated, living separate lives as if they were divorced since 2016, right?
Where was this in Drake's timeline? Was this around
Trump.
the same time you were researching him with your friend?
Probably, yeah, probably around that same time, honestly, yeah. And we were thinking like, wow, he's got the life. I want to be like Will
Right.
Smith.
That's the point though, is like, and I remember even, I don't know what year, but probably somewhere after 2016, but not too far. He was like on social media a lot more. I noticed on Facebook, he was like jumping out of airplanes or helicopters and doing all these, like, he was like, do you notice those videos? I don't know. There was like a period where I was seeing them a lot for some reason.
I do remember that. Yeah.
That's the point of like, oh, wow, he's got a, it was impulse in that same point of like, he's got a really cool life. Like he's cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, he got me. I mean, it was easy to get me.
And they're kids too, right? Like, didn't his kids become quite famous as well?
Yeah, his kids were also famous. I think his son's name is Jaden. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Jaden.
Yeah.
He did so.
I remember he was like doing like wearing dresses and stuff.
Exactly.
He's like really well spoken, and he's like articulate. You know, like they're intelligent kids.
Yeah.
They're not like, you know, they're also like out there. So it's not like your typical celebrity kids,
right?
Where they're just like, oh, you're just some celebrity kid. It's like they're like smart, you know, like they're
yeah. So and also I remember, man, dude, okay. Let me just say this from my perspective, they really got the Black community because I mean, obviously they're like a super successful Black family. They were featured on Oprah, you know, like mom's a movie star, dad's a movie star. I guess the mom was also a model, I think. I don't remember, but like basically she's like, you know, typical bad bitch, right? As far as the Black community goes, it's like, wow, these guys have it all. The kids are superstars, you know, all this stuff, right? Well, then turns out this guy that all these young, especially Black guys, but just millennials in general look up to, turns out he's a straight cuck. He's weak. He's like, that's what's coming out now, you know, like this stuff with like, okay, remember what you said, Mitch. You saw him just like on, I don't even know what that was, award show, whatever, slapping Chris Rock, right? And making this, that was the slap heard around the world, they call it, right? But literally, everyone like was focused and had their attention on that while that was going on, right? And we were talking about, and we were even like sharing that, like different people talking about like, okay, he's an actor. Chris Rock is also an actor. He's a comedian, but he's also an actor. Like, and they allowed this man to literally rush the stage and assault somebody on national television. Like literally something's going on here. Like they want your attention on this specifically. This is Hollywood, right? And now it's like even more so realizing that, oh, they were not even together during that time. It's just all been a show, all been a front this entire time. And so now it's like, you got to really consider what is being curated to be put in front of your face for you to consume and take in, and specifically have this point of, I'm bringing up the character point of, we've created this relationship with this character who literally we only know from movies, and we're like, or interviews that
you don't know the actual person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so you've created this relationship of like, he's a good guy. I like him. Like, how many people feel affection for The Rock? You know, if The Rock were to like just come onto any program, everybody would be like, "Oh my gosh, it's The Rock! He's such a cool guy.
Right.
He's
It'd be
the
like-
best." You know,
It'd be like if you found out like Bill Cosby was like not like this totally like, just like family guy, loving dad, father guy, like taking care of young women, as like a father figure and so forth.
Yeah.
It'd be like if that was the illusion was shattered or something by something he
imagine
did,
that. Can you imagine that? Like, that'd be crazy. That would be insane. Not Bill Cosby, though.
It'd be like if like randomly you were hanging out with Joe Biden and he was just like acting like slurring his words and acting like he had dementia or something. You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Like I
Or
thought
like
this
Hunter
guy was
Biden.
like this.
And like,
Yeah, like imagine if he was like doing like weird drugs and stuff, and like you were like, wow, he's not this upstanding like president's son and like savvy businessman and like it's
imagine if
crazy.
like Joe Biden was like, you're hanging out with him and then he's like starts sniffing your kids and they're like, what are you doing? Like it'd be like that'd be so I can't imagine it. I will say this about Joe Biden though. I watched a recent like they had a moment where they had him on Air Force One and they just stopped him, asked him questions. And it's so interesting because you see all of his staff behind him and they're just like, their eyes are so wide. And they're like, and the reporters just keep asking questions. And his movements are just so like, they're geriatric, like he's just like, I would say that's a bad.
Well, like even that Israel Ukraine speech he gave, like it's like it's like a really old person.
But I will
say
say
there's people who are very old but don't seem old, but this guy
Yes.
also just seems very old.
He seems very old. But I will say this about him. What was interesting about this interview, because it wasn't like cut up or anything. I just listened to it, and I saw the reactions of the people behind him, and they really looked like we have to get him away from.
They're like,
people.
shit, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know the woman's name, but the black lady with the curly hair, who's like his press secretary, right? She was just like, she kept looking down at her phone, then looking at like the other aides and everything, and just going like, we gotta go.
It's fascinating because it's more like those people run the show in a way.
Right.
And it's like the president is just the actor.
Right.
It's not that the president couldn't take on the responsibility, but in this case, it's really just like he's the actor. They're like, we just got to keep him propped up and like, okay, move him over here, move him over there. And he's not really the person who's directing anything.
But here's the interesting thing that he said about the whole, like, because they were asking him about Israel and Gaza and all that, right? And he said, I told Bibi, I don't know, is that the guy's name?
Netanyahu. It's like their nickname for him. Yeah.
They call him Bibi? Why is it so affectionate? What is this?
Great question.
It's like a whole propaganda thing, I think. Yeah.
Baby,
Yeah.
hey baby.
Feeling human.
But
it'd be like if they call Putin like Vladdy.
Vladdy. Hey Vladdy, he's my
Can you imagine?
Vladdy.
They would never do like. Is there
He's not
any
my
other
daddy,
president where
he's
they
my
do that?
Vladdy. Anyway.
Anyways,
they go.
Yeah.
He says, "No, I told Bibi that you need to give humanitarian aid to Gaza. Like, if you have the opportunity to do something good, and you don't do it, it's going to be hell on you." Like, and I was just like, "Oh, that's really interesting." I wasn't expecting him to say that. I was expecting him to be like, 100% we stand with Israel.
that's why they said it though.
Why?
That's so that people like you would be like, people who are expecting him to say one thing to be like, oh wow, well maybe we really do care about Gaza. And like, okay, because hold on, it was only now. See, this is the thing. Something comes out, you have the internet, so you can gauge everybody's fucking reaction.
Yeah.
Right. And then they look at that reaction and then they can go, okay, here's what everyone's thinking. Here's our next move. Here's what we're going to say. They're not saying what they see is best. They're saying what is politically expedient based on everybody's reactions and so forth. They're just measuring people's reactions.
Ooh, okay. All right. So that's the next conversation. But
it's not like, wow, Joe Biden's actually a really good guy. It's like, no, they're just fucking.
Yeah, no. Okay. So that's the next conversation when we go into Giannis, but not yet. But let me finish this thing about Will Smith, right? Basically, we've created these characters relationships with characters that aren't even real, and then they subvert these characters. Oh, okay, that's the same thing that we're saying about Joe Biden, basically, right? They subvert the character on you, and so like the relationship that you have, because here's what I saw.
Well, I don't know if it's so much they're subverting the character. It's just that the internet is a double-edged sword. If you look at it, it's like, in the one hand, it allows you to propagandize at a level never before seen in human history, or Atlantean history, or anything, right? But at the same time, everyone is connected. So the truth also gets exposed as well. And then that's why I think there's such an emphasis on fact checkers. So you can say, what's the authoritative answer, right? And then you're going to throw AI into the mix. You're not even going to know fantasy from reality at all. Because there's propaganda that's based on reality. But what happens when there's propaganda based on literal fantasy? And then you can't even distinguish the fantasy of the fantasy. It's like a whole nother thing. But you see what I'm saying? So like with the Will Smith thing, it's not like they are subverting his character. It's just the reality of the situation is coming to light.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
Okay, I
So
see that.
basically, what is coming to light? Like,
well, I don't know all the details other than the bits and pieces I put together, but apparently she had some kind of, she jumped into an interaction with another man.
That's
Will
how
Smith put it.
Will described it.
Apparently, she banged like her son's friend or something. I don't know the details exactly. And so basically, there's like a cheating thing, right? And that happened at some point a long time ago. I don't know when in the timeline. And so, and then they're separated. I don't know when that comes into play versus the other point. But the context about that slap of Chris Rock, they were already separated for years and years and years, like not living together, living separate lives, but still putting on the appearance of being together. So him sitting next to her and him coming up there and defending her honor, like all of that was, these are two people who don't even live together, who are de facto divorced, even though not divorced on paper, right? So it's all fake. Like, where's the reality of any of it? And so, but the other interesting point, there was like some interview Jada Smith did, because she wrote a book, I guess, of her memoirs, or I don't know, whatever. Maybe it's just her way of trying to like market a story or something. But it's like the thing with Will Smith, when he was talking to her, what was that? That was something else.
Okay, no, that was something completely different, where she's just like, she kind of like took out her camera, put him on the spot.
No, not that. The one where it's like he's asking her questions.
Red Table Talk.
But that was separate from her books being released.
That's
recently.
very separate. Yes. So that was in the past. That already happened like a while ago, because
there was some conversation they did.
What is Red Table Talk? What is it? Christine, do you know? Or can you say?
It's like where a bunch of women get around and talk shit about themselves and each other.
Yeah.
And basically, there was some point where he was asking her questions of like, their relationship or whatever. And he said something about like, and at some point, when you jumped into an interaction with another man, but that was his way of phrasing like, you fucked another dude.
Yeah.
Right. And then she goes, yes, well, I just wanted to feel good. And she didn't say it like, yeah, you know what I realized now? I actually just want to feel good. And that's why I did it. It was more like, I just needed to feel good. Right? Like saying this to her, apparently, according to what we're assuming, is her current husband. Right. And then she said that because of her childhood trauma that she experienced, she has this need, and maybe it's a character flaw, of like trying to heal other people. And so without knowing all the context, I'm assuming their son has a friend. He's probably got a broken home. He's probably got all kinds of things going on. They were like helping him out. Cause like, I know like people did that with my younger brother, or my, not young guest, but my younger brother. Cause like my parents kicked him out of the house a bunch and all this stuff. And like, he'd go and live with other friends. You know what I mean? Like their family basically just take him in as one of their kids kind of. And so it's like, but she took it to the next level of like, you're in the family now. Like
you're the man of the house.
Again, I don't know any of the details. I just know from like the context I can see from this thing. So that's kind of some of the context. And then, but this point of like, she did it out of a way of trying to help him heal. So her reasoning behind why she cheated on Will Smith was that she just wanted to feel good. And she has some character flaw because of childhood trauma that she needs to help other people heal. And I guess that's how she does it. But what's so fascinating is, was it somebody pointed this out. Maybe it was like the Matt Walsh video I watched, where it's like, I think it was his. It's like you've got this guy, Will Smith, on the other side of the table, and you're not in any way interested in helping him really heal.
Right.
And you're justifying like you destroying him as a man. Because like when a wife cheats on a man, that really destroys him.
Yeah.
Like whether you want to argue with, the guy being weak or this or that, I'm just saying like that's the reality of the situation, right? It's kind of like if parents get divorced, it destroys the children.
Yeah.
It's a fact. It's a thing that happens. Okay. Whether you say the child are being weak or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like it's a thing that really impacts them. Right. And so it's just interesting because it's highlighting the whole point of like the woman. It's like, I just wanted to feel good. And also I'm a victim. And so I was trying to help other victims. So like, you can't in any way question me. And Will Smith is playing this role of just, she's such an amazing woman. And yes, she's healing so much. Like, he's not like, dude, you're a fucking bitch. You don't care about anything except yourself.
Right.
You just want to feel good. Like, that's totally fucked. And I'm not defending like he's the good guy or something. Like, he's accepted this whole thing, right? Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
Apparently Scientology works really fucking well, by the way. Like, just wanted to put that out there. Pretty sure.
Oh, is he? I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so much for healing her fucking.
I'll look it up. I don't want to get sued for defamation from Scientology. Allegedly,
like,
my opinion.
Scientology's like, hey, we don't claim him. Come on.
Not anymore.
That's hilarious. No,
apparently he's not a Scientologist.
See, man, you need to apologize to Scientology for saying so.
God. I apologize, Scientology.
I apologize, science.
Okay, another example is Tom Cruise. Like, if you just were being totally honest about the point, like, what do you think about Tom Cruise?
He's a great guy.
Like, great guy. He's
Great
a
actor.
man. He's like
He does his
badass.
own stunt scenes, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Right. But what's the reality of the person? Like, the one thing I can definitely say for sure is the guy probably works really fucking hard. There's no
for sure.
doubt about that. Like, you don't do what he's doing and you're not like really working hard and stuff. All right. And maybe he is a great guy. I'm not trying to talk shit about him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you don't know what is the reality behind the scenes.
We have no idea. Like, he could be like an extreme workaholic and like just kind of a little bit insane, and that's why he wants to do his own stunts. He could be just the case that it's like, he's just actually a really cool guy.
I'm not even referencing that point. It's just like he got divorced.
Yeah.
Right. His wife left him. Remember that whole thing? That was like a big deal.
Katie?
Maybe it was her fucking thing. Maybe it had nothing to do. Yeah, I don't know. But the point is, we attach ourselves to these images. It's like you're imagining Tom Cruise is the guy in the fighter jet shooting down the enemy planes, and he's like a badass going for the Need for Speed and stuff.
He's not.
He's actually just. I mean, it's so fascinating because we are.
Who's in the fighter jet?
It was an AI jet. Didn't you?
Do you not understand how movies? Okay, I need you to sit down. I want to explain to you how movies work. That was a movie. That wasn't real.
What? So you're telling me my feelings of patriotism that I got from that were not real?
Hold on. Can I show you guys something else?
Are you trying to invalidate my feelings, Cameron?
A lot of parents are about to get really mad at me.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Expose.
For those listening,
this was at Lowe's. There's a black Santa
Santa
statue and a white Santa statue and a reindeer Santa statue. Or maybe that's just a reindeer. I can't.
Is this your first time seeing
Is
a
it
black
showing that
Santa
it's
at
okay
Lowe's?
for Santa to identify as a reindeer?
Yeah, I know. I never noticed one before. Maybe if I did, I didn't think about it.
Really?
But
pretty common around here.
Hey, people are arguing about. People get triggered by that. Like, a black Santa. Santa's not black. It's like, it's not real, guys. Santa is not real. It's like, right, I know, but I lied to my kids and I convinced them that it's real. So I need to pick a race because he can't be two different. How can my kids think he's real and then look at that and go, well, which is it? Is he black or is he white? It's whatever you want, but he's a real person, right? Because he's going to deliver my fucking presents, right? Well, yeah. Like, so do you see how this is very confusing to a child? Like,
can I change my?
I thought he was real. Like, which one is he?
Color? What is this? Like, can you imagine like a little kid like, wait, I want to be black like Santa. You know? Or I want to be able to switch back and forth. When it's
I
convenient.
wanted to be black like Will Smith for a long time.
Yeah, how
You
come you
still-
can't identify your race, but you can identify your gender?
You can identify your race. You're just
Oh.
not allowed to do it ironically.
Yeah, you can identify your race. Sean King identifies as black all the time, and he's clearly white. There's also some other people that also did the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, you can identify whatever race you'd like. I
Noted for future.
identify as Mesopotamian.
I don't know if this is a
Wow.
good thing to say or not, but like, why didn't the Europeans give Israel like a country in Europe? Like, why didn't they give the Jews that were all fucked up with the Holocaust? Why didn't they give them a country in Europe?
Hey, do you know what
Why
we're
did they
taught?
go like, you got to go
Geography,
back to the
geography.
fucking Middle East?
You know what we're
Geography.
taught? Like when you
Didn't
go
make
to
sense though. Like, why would you like, oh, I could stay here with all these beautiful mountains and stuff like that, and like, you know, whatever. Or I could go to the desert around a bunch of fucking people who hate us. Why
You know-
would you do that?
Do you
Like
know-
that. I mean, does that
Conflict
justify
mission.
what Hamas did? Of course not.
Do you know what we're taught in the Holocaust Museum?
What?
Nobody else wanted them. That's what we're taught. Like literally, they came over to America in ships, and America was just like, nah, nah. And everywhere they went, apparently, this was the case, where everyone just said, we don't want you here.
Okay,
so-
but like we did it once, right? Why don't we just now go, you know what, guys? This is not working out. I mean, are you really that tied to like, you know, the desert? Why don't you guys just go to like Switzerland?
And just give them
Hawaii.
Switzerland. And then,
Hawaii,
and then,
yeah.
and then we could put all the Swiss people in like the southern tip of Switzerland and like 144 square mile radius.
I mean, didn't they steal all their gold or something?
They did. And so they could just
Allegedly, don't sue me,
reclaim it back.
Switzerland.
Wait. What's the story here?
Okay, so
I
the
They
don't
didn't have
story.
the gold and they harvested all the gold, or they had gold and then
Who are you talking about? Who's
Like
Like
the
the
Nazis took all
Swiss.
the gold from the Jews, and then the Swiss
Okay.
took the gold from the
Got it,
Nazis,
okay.
and now they have all the gold. That's why Switzerland's so rich. Then they made the Jews go live in the desert. So if anybody, the bad guy is the Swiss here.
for
Or is
sure?
it-
They're at least the beneficiaries.
Why are they called Swiss and not Switz?
The cheese
Yeah, but why are they called Swiss? Why is it called Switz?
has to do something with the cheese.
I don't know.
There's a lot of holes in this theory, much like Swiss cheese.
There you go.
Although I do like Swiss cheese, it's my favorite cheese in terms of sandwiches.
Your favorite
I have not
If I'm
identified.
gonna have a sandwich, I want Swiss on it generally.
cheddar.
Do you guys
is-
like Gouda
is
cheese? Do
my
you guys like
favorite.
Gouda cheese?
I like
Gouda is
it.
great, but I like it by itself, like with a cracker and some jam or something.
Ooh.
I like- I
Hey,
like
hey.
I'll show you guys when you
Hot
come down
pepper
here.
jam. Hot pepper jam is so good. I didn't realize that's probably top 10 favorite foods of mine.
What kind of jam do you use for the peppers?
I don't know, whatever Jess gets at the store. It's just
Is it
really
peach? Because that's like the best.
good. Ooh, no, it was not peach. I think it was
Okay.
like raspberry, but I would do
Peach, peach and
Jess, make
jalapeno.
notes. Add this to your grocery list.
Hey, we have that ghost pepper plant we have has got like 100 peppers on it.
Woo! Hey, can we eat some at the?
You can have
Texas
whatever
store?
you want.
Why do you have a ghost pepper plant?
Katie,
Hey,
planted
you can
it.
make some homemade peach ghost
I gotta
pepper.
talk to
ghost
Katie.
pepper peach salsa.
Katie, this doesn't make
Or are you
sense.
talking
Why
about
would you
jelly?
have-
Some jam.
Oh yeah, jelly, that stuff.
Unless you're like
My,
trying
my
to hurt
food
somebody.
vocabulary is not very high, but I enjoy it.
Okay.
Like it kind of all blends together, and then I just have some favorite foods.
So, anyway,
Oh,
I-
you know, another
so-
point. Like
let's
it's
see.
that whole thing about looking up to somebody and then thinking, and because of the character and the image that's portrayed, you're like, they have the perfect life. This is amazing. But then behind the scenes, there's problems. Right. And that is the reality of our world. It's like we have this fantasy, but then there's like the reality of it. It's like the fantasy of I'm a Christian or I'm like, you know, in heaven and all this stuff. But then it's like the reality of it.
okay, but how most people would perceive their problems is they would say, but I could live with those problems. I'd be happy with those problems, right? But what they
You'd be
don't
happy
realize-
with your wife fucked another dude and your kids are fucking weird.
Oh,
And like,
it's okay, Cameron, that my wife.
as long as I have a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
Yes,
actual
But
and
what do
people
you
look up to
what do
me.
you want to do with all that money? I'd go on vacation with who? Your wife's boyfriend. I'm not saying the money is bad. I'm just saying that's not everything you want.
Speaking of which, somebody sent me it was okay. The headline was, there was a picture of Kim Kardashian and her 4 kids, right? And the headline was
Yes, 4
Kim
kids.
Kardashian, yeah, North,
South,
Chicago,
East, West.
Saint,
Saint?
and Psalm. Those are the
The
kids.
4
Psalm?
cardinal sins.
Yeah, there you go. Psalm.
Dang.
Yeah,
Psalm.
yeah, like
I'm out
Psalms.
of the loop. I'm not watching enough. What do they call it? TMZ.
Yeah, you're not watching it.
Or
on
and
TMZ.
Jess just goes. To
I like
the
when I like
Em
when Kanye
actually
West was
just
all in the
delivers it.
news and everything, and people
Yeah.
were like, and he's like claiming like she's like some great Christian woman. They were like,
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't go to the.
see, but
grocery
that's
store
another
either.
example. Like you see like the glitz and the glamour, but then like behind the scenes, the actual reality of the person's life.
So
And
here's
what does that
like
show?
with-
It's not that money is bad. It just shows like, oh, if you have money, you have all these problems. Like they're actually equal to everyone else. Their minds are the same. They're not fundamentally different. They just know how to make money.
here's what the headline said. Kim Kardashian hires a nanny because she wants a male role model in her children's lives.
If only there was a way she could have a male role model.
Yeah.
And so the male role model she wants is that a guy who takes care of kids.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the role model.
Well,
What does he like?
here's the
Just
thing.
come over and like work out, and, like watch sports and stuff. Like, what's the role model?
He picks
Or
her-
no, he sits in his bedroom and plays with Star Wars action figures and plays World of Warcraft or whatever.
he picks them up from like their sports activities and drops them off, and that's basically like
So he's a nanny.
he's a nanny, but he's a
probably gay
nanny.
too. I bet he's gay too.
Probably.
Allegedly.
Or maybe he's not, and maybe she just has a way of getting another man in her life.
It sounds
Oh,
like
man.
he's actually just trying to get in there somehow.
He's trying. He looks
Allegedly.
gay. You remember? Oh man, there were all these like shows where like the guy would come over and pretend to be gay, and then like somehow weasel his way in to the woman. Yeah, that's basically what he's doing. Anyway.
What was the reasoning? It's like, oh, I am still gay, but what? Like, how would she reason out?
No, I think it was just a way to like hide from her man. So like he would appear gay,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
her man would be like,
Show.
"Oh, he's a gay guy. Okay, whatever." And then like guards dropped, and then he's in there.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
this
He's
is
in
the show.
there.
I don't remember which show it was, but there were many shows like that in the 90s, or at least early 2000s.
Okay, I'm seeing at an even more level, deeper level, how fucked up Hollywood and this whole fucking media thing is. You know, like these.
Mitch just
characters.
realized this. Mitch is just like,
No. I'm
think
that's what I
Hollywood's
said.
fucked
It's
up.
deeper now. How fucking deep this thing goes. It's
but
like you're never gonna get something true out of Hollywood.
this is what I was trying to say with like
Yeah.
the subversion point. What I was saying is they're following a script. The script gets you, just like that book that you were talking about earlier, the script gets you to like this character. And then at some point, like this fucking character, you know, the what did they call it? The floor fell out from under. How does that phrase go?
The rug gets pulled out from under them.
There it is. Thank you. Yeah, the rug, like it's like the floor drops out. It's like, oh shit, you've built all these relationships in your mind. And let me just
If
point
Jada
something
Pinkett
out.
Smith has alopecia, how is she growing hair again?
It's a lie. It's a script. It's a lie. Gosh.
Oh,
She
okay.
lied to Will Smith about it. God. I don't know.
What?
So
She just wanted to identify with Tupac.
yeah, or just have like, maybe she just didn't want to grow her hair for Will. And she claimed she had
Watch one of them become trans now.
She's like, I will cut all my hair off. I will become extremely unattractive, and you'll still defend my honor.
dude.
Damn.
Manipulation at its finest. Okay, but here's what I wanted to say is this is not just a thing that we do with people on TV as far as building character relationships. And then those
Wait,
characters.
so she cut her hair on purpose?
I don't know, Cam.
She like just decided as a fashion statement to cut her hair so that Chris Rock would make fun of her, so that Will Smith would slap her, so that we could find out later he did all that when they were already separated.
I would not put it past her with all the things that are coming out now. I would not put it past
I think it is a conspiracy to sell alopecia medication.
What is, I didn't know that was a thing. They have alopecia medication?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
And apparently they were like coming out with some new alopecia drug right around that time of the Oscars. And that was like sponsored by Pfizer or some shit. Or the company that makes it or something.
I'm
You
not
know about
even
all that
surprised.
conspiracy theory?
No, I didn't hear about this, but
Is this
I'm
the
not
same one where
surprised.
Sam Smith dressed up as Satan?
No, I think that was a
That's
different
different?
show. Different
I
show.
think that's a different thing. That's not the
Oh,
Oscars.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That would have to be like the Grammys or something. Like he's
Yeah,
a singer.
okay.
Yeah.
It shows you how
Um,
up to date I am with that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the point being, you created all these relationships, character relationships, not just with characters though on TV, but like with your own personality characters and your own relationships with words and how you identify the world around you. And then it turns out none of that shit's even real. And you've lived your whole life like that. And then all of a sudden, at some point, you realize, fuck, I've been duped. But it's by you. You've been duped by you. Or at least you're holding it in place. You're still allowing it. Because if, let's say, for instance, you're watching Will Smith and you're like, oh, man, I've been duped. It's like, why did you have a relationship with Will Smith? You
Right.
didn't
Like,
really-
why were you getting, yeah, exactly. Like, why were you tricked?
Right.
Why were you making decisions based on that character anyways?
And I'm saying this from the perspective of, I got duped. I had a
You know, another
relationship-
one that's like this is
Who?
Bruce Willis.
Oh, yeah.
Like
yeah,
when
yeah.
I was growing up, he was like, and of course, you know, as a white man, of course, I wanted to be Bruce Willis, you know, as
course.
every young boy did.
Oh, I see.
But
They put the
but-
Will in the name. Will
Right.
Smith is who I wanted to be like. Bruce Willis is who you wanted to be like. Boom, got it.
Exactly. So, but he was like a badass guy. He was like in Fifth Element. He was in
Yeah.
the Die Hard. I mean, everyone knows Bruce Willis. Like he's
Yeah.
all over the place, right? But now he's got like fucking like some crazy dementia thing and like can't speak anymore, you know. And it's
No,
like
really.
my point just being like the idea of like you could live your life being jealous of and envious of those characters and those people, but then their life turns to shit just like everybody else.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? There's like the fantasy of if I had, it's like a total person is like an infinite number of points. You're looking at like 30 points. And you're like, if I had those 30 points, my life would be so much better.
Mm.
But you're not looking at all the other points. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we're constantly being distracted by all of that. It's like the same way, you know, it's so similar, like with Christmas, for example, where like you get a feeling, you smell the nice, what is this, cinnamon
Pine.
and trees and pine and stuff. And, you know, there's like the jingle bells and there's the songs and all of those things together. It's like, you know, 30 different points.
Yeah.
Hold this feeling together that you have, but then you're not even looking at all the other aspects of the reality of it.
Man, imagine
You know?
if you had to live like Christmas for your entire life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like it basically be like Groundhog Day.
I mean, you actually could.
Well,
Like, how come nobody is like, you know what? I just want to have Christmas pine trees and stuff all year round, like every day. I'm sure there's somebody on some like fucking TMC or whatever TLC show where it's like, this man realizes Christmas every day of the year. You know, he gets up, he puts on his Santa Claus outfit.
this man's addicted to Christmas.
He's addicted to Christmas. No, but I was thinking about Amazon.
Uh-huh. Oh, because that's
Probably because of
Christmas
that
every day.
Yanis thing.
Hey, yeah, he has.
No,
oh,
because I forget where my train of thought was coming from, but it had to do with
You getting presents in the mail every single day.
no.
Wow.
It was the point. It was the point of
Mitch is buying it. Mitch likes it.
Yeah,
He's
okay,
like,
okay.
yeah.
When I picture the North Pole, is like you know remember like a couple years ago when the stories came out about the Amazon warehouses
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they had to like fucking get worked
Like
so hard
Dusty
like
Elves.
they had to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
pee in a bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh shit! Look at that. The North Pole is Amazon headquarters. Actually, that's the North Pole.
Well, what I was looking at was the lack of principle because we had watched that Yanis thing, Yanis Varoufakis.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good
And
thing to touch
Man,
on.
I didn't know how to
And-
say his last name. I'm glad you said it.
you were just waiting for me to say it. But I was looking at the point. Do you remember? I don't know if y'all have read this book called The Everything Store. It's about Amazon.
Yeah, I didn't read it.
And in there's this part where they talk about like when they were building Amazon. And there was this one year where they wanted to break into like the Christmas toys point and kind of like start dominating there because you would go buy your toys at stores. And it's like they were slowly but surely trying to get every part of retail.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe not slowly. But it was like, I remember they were out there like at the store, like buying a bunch of toys because they didn't have enough in their inventory. And it was like this whole thing of them trying to find a way to like get everyone to start using Amazon to buy their Christmas toys or whatever it was. And I'm like, so in that context, would Jeff Bezos ever talk about the reality that you're lying to your kids about Santa Claus? Like you wouldn't ever. So I was just imagining like, let's say you're going to go work for one of these companies because it's such a great opportunity or something. And it's like, but you'll never question that. You would never be able to question Christmas. Imagine you work at Amazon, but you're outspoken about, hey, Christmas is bullshit. Like, I mean, I know that's a totally unrealistic point, but it's just I was just looking at that point of how you have to compromise. Imagine you work at a company and you're looking at the whole Israel-Palestine thing and you're like, dude, this is fucked. Like, and you start talking about the problems in Palestine or whatever, right? Gaza. And your company's like, hey, you can't talk about that stuff because people know you work here and they're putting the pressure on us, like that we have an employee and like we're looking bad here. It's like, and you have to be like, okay, well, that's fine. But that's just one example. Like, and we've seen it with the transgender and the woke and the BLM and all that stuff, and there's no logic to it. There's no logic to it because now everyone's fine with BLM not making sense because they support Hamas or whatever they say. I don't know what the actual reality of it is.
Right. Now everyone's like, well, it's just like they're a terrorist organization.
But the only people really saying that is just the people on the right.
True.
Like,
well,
what did you fucking expect?
Well, they've always been calling BLM a terrorist.
They're trying to like tie together. See, the mainstream media supported Black Lives Matter, therefore they support Hamas, therefore they are anti-Israel and all this stuff. And it's like just the whole game. It's a whole perception game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk more about that Yanis point?
Yeah, I don't know what did you guys take away from it because there was a lot of points in there, but
I didn't listen to the whole thing, but that was the same book that we read a couple years ago, right?
No, it's a different book. It's a different book, but a similar title. The book that we read a couple of years ago is Kotkin, Neo-Feudalism. Right?
Oh shit.
So this is a new one, which is Techno-Feudalism, is what he's calling it. Right?
Oh boy.
So yeah.
it's exactly. Like a medieval.
Yeah. When you listen to techno, you're like,
hold on, I got something for you guys. I got something for you guys.
And rule over.
Hold on. Just give me a minute here. Let me share my screen. Let me share my music.
Yeah, go ahead.
You guys are gonna love this. This is Techno-Feudalism.
Okay, let's have it. Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I gotta find it.
Lords and queens. Lords and queens. Kings and Good serve.
Oh, here we go. Okay, let's go with who should I go with first?
Be my vassal. That's it, right? The Techno-Feudalism.
I accidentally clicked on one of like the German underground techno raves on my Instagram, and it just feeds me this stuff. It's crazy.
It's not what I want.
Yeah, this doesn't sound like Techno-Feudalism. Gaitan said Ben Shapiro made a video talking about Palestine being supported by Greta. he's really trying to tie this whole thing together. He's like, and Greta.
Ben Shapiro is so.
He's so angry. He's such a
just
little angry man.
Yeah.
Where's this techno feudalism? Come on. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look up techno
What are those knights called?
What
Like their
about 'em?
names from Camelot and all that.
Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah, but what are their names? There's like Lancelot.
Lancelot,
Yeah.
That's not the one I'm looking for.
King
What's
Arthur.
another one?
King
Damn.
Arthur. Did y'all know? I was
I don't
trying to
know.
find the story
Listen,
of it, but I got
I'm gonna-
Hyperion instead.
I'm gonna be straight up with you. I didn't read those books as a kid like that. The medieval stuff that didn't really appeal to me because there was no black people in those books. You know, just at all. We weren't even mentioned.
That's why it needs to change.
I see
That
why you
needs to
have no
change.
empathy for me as the white man, Drake.
No. We need to be really inclusive, and then just change
Oh, just rewrite the stories.
the books. Yeah, to
Hey,
include
like
black
Hamilton,
people.
they make one now called King Arthur.
Thanks. See you later.
Oh, what'd you get?
I
Ghost
got
pepper
another laptop.
yum?
That's what I got.
Oh, I thought you got food delivered.
No. I
Here we
got,
go.
This stand by Eminem.
Just wait for it. When I hear techno
Is it gonna be
feudalism,
100 Gex?
no,
Yeah. This is techno feudalism. Oh. And then the king had a party.
Hey, we could leave it in the background and just talk over it. This is catchy.
Very
Yeah.
catchy. I like
Wow,
it.
that was
I
catchy.
like it. No, that's good.
It's very
that was
interesting.
CFAX Acid Crew.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Just for those of you who want to know,
I thought Max.
You-
It sounded like something Max would have made.
you might remember this from Sydney Sizzler.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sydney Sizzler.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, what did you take away from the Vacus Yena Fecus?
So
Fecus?
basically, it's interesting because we've been having this conversation since years ago about the
Since
neo-feudalism.
2016,
Yeah.
when Will Smith and Jada Smith were separated.
That's-
Unbeknownst to the world.
But no, we were talking about feudalism back then and how it's coming. And we were talking about how it's coming in the
But I think
Metaspace.
most people think of it like in the sense of there were kings and queens who owned everything, and there was a bunch of peasants. And so now they're going to use technology to make everybody peasants. So it's more of like a dystopian sort of, they're just using it to control you, sort of. I think that's what people imagine when they, without doing the research of what is meant by the feudalism.
Yeah.
But Varoufakis made this really cool point about like you have the cloud, which is where everything exists, and that has all the information about what everybody likes and doesn't like, and it enables that point of algorithmic preferential, whatever. And then you have the people who make the products, which are the capitalists, but then they have to rent the cloud, and so it's like the new power is around the renting of the cloud. It's like the land
Yeah.
back in the feudal times. So that's
Yeah.
where he's making the connection of a feudalism point. And he's saying it's not a real market because it's not a market. So the thing is, like, there's this weird distinction because it's like he's kind of making it like the algorithm. It's not a real market because the algorithm is what?
No, that's
Giving-
not what he's saying. He's saying it's not a market because it's a platform. Like it would be like calling your house a market. It's not a market. You control everything that comes through your house. And so
Oh,
you-
right. Okay. Yeah.
So that's not a market. A market, the idea behind a market is that, there's all these different companies that
Right.
come here, and then you can But
You
even
could
then,
go to this guy or that guy. What were you
Right.
gonna say? Even then, yeah.
But even then, though, like if you went to like a farmer's market, for instance, they're paying rent, to the farmer's
But
market.
the market is like a general market that just exists out there, and you can just go out into the world and
Yeah,
do your
even then,
goods.
that's bullshit too.
I know that's why I'm like, but I do see his point because he's just showing that the shift of power is going from it was like who had all the wealth, who controlled everything, the people who owned the land.
Yeah.
But then it became the people who had the businesses, who had the products and so forth. And he's saying it's shifting because people are putting all of that into the cloud and relying on that.
Yeah.
The power is being shifted into the people who run the cloud, which is like the Bezoses. So it's like, it's not the guy who owns Walmart, although even Walmart, if you think about it, isn't that kind of like a miniature Amazon? There's just a physical point. So
Yeah,
it's not really, it's like anything's fundamentally changing per se.
it's just the acceleration of it.
But doesn't it even show even more of why you shouldn't participate in the online bullshit? Like if you're thinking there's a marketplace of ideas, and then you're like, I'm going to go online and use that primarily to persuade people. Who owns that? Who owns that space? Not you.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
But the physical world, you can walk around, you can talk to people, but online in the cloud, you can't. And let's say you make the most badass video that explains all your ideas so perfectly. The algorithm decides if somebody sees it or not you. Versus you go and you see a person, you start talking to them.
Okay, so just a tangent on that, seeing a person and talking to them. I went to Whole Foods yesterday.
Dude, that's why, real quick, that's why there's so much crackdown on the protesting, I think.
Because of Whole Foods?
Because of Whole Foods.
I know.
No, because then it's like all your debate and everything has to move online.
Yeah.
Because that's the way people know about expressing their
displeasure.
Dissatisfaction, displeasure with something is like you protest about it, right? But now they're like, nope, you can't physically do that. So now you have to protest online.
You can protest
but
in the
that's all
metaverse.
controlled.
Yeah,
Right.
that's super controlled. Where it's like, we'll allow you to see this, we won't allow you to see that. Like,
or you'll just deplatformed.
Or you're deplatformed, or we show you a bunch of opposition to the idea that you think is, the popular idea, and now we're making you think that this is the popular idea. That's
Right.
all really controlled. I saw a guy in Whole Foods yesterday, and it was an older gentleman, had to be like, I don't know.
Did he have a top hat on or something?
No, he just had white hair. I don't know how I knew he was a
It's
gentleman.
like, I am a gentleman.
Yeah, but anyway, I was walking by him and I saw his shirt. It said "Plandemic," and as I was walking by, I was like, "Oh, I like your shirt." And he does a double take, and he turns around and he's like, and he starts walking towards me, and he gets excited. I see the excitement in him, and he's like, "You know about that? Have you seen?" And I was like, "Have you seen number 3?" And he's like, "You see number 3? All right, cool." And then he just launches into just like telling me all the things that it like this is bullshit and all this, right? It's so funny because his wife is like,
I've seen the movie, man.
Yeah,
I know.
Right. And he's like, and it's just so well done when they have this guy. And, when he was young, he was talking about this. How did he know about
It's like
all
kids
this
with
stuff?
Pokemon. They just want to tell you about all the fucking Charizard.
Dude. So his wife, it's so funny because she was like at the end of the aisle, and she just turns around and she's like, "All right, honey." And she just turns like she's like, she knows he does this. He's like, "Yeah, she knows I do this." Like, I can tell. And then so he's going off. And he's like, and the whole COVID thing's fake. This is what he says, right? And as
allegedly,
and then as he's saying this, I see his eyes go over my shoulder, and like he's looking. Clearly, there's somebody behind me that he's looking at. And then he rephrases it, and he goes, "Well, the virus is real, but the whole response to all this that was just like complete mess up and all that." And then apparently, the guy who was behind me, who he said this for his benefit, comes in front of me, and he's like pushing a cart. He's also an older guy, and he's wearing this like Saints jersey, and I see him looking back as he's pushing his cart, and he goes, "That's not true. That's not true." And the guy I'm talking to looks up, and he goes, "Oh, but it is." And then the guy turns his cart around and starts heading towards us.
Oh boy.
Sounds like a movie.
The guy I'm talking to goes, hey, I'm willing to talk to you. if you're going to respect what I say, right? And the other guy says, I will, but that's not true. I got the information from the Florida, Georgia before the CDC got it. And the guy I'm talking to goes, me too. And I was just like, I'm just so giddy because I'm like, oh shit, it's going
Like
down.
these gentlemen are about to duel.
Yes. It is so funny because this guy, he's talking like the guy I'm talking to, he's talking so loud and he's just like, it's just socialism, blah,
He
blah.
like
Like,
gets the intercom for the store.
And he's literally
Literally.
standing in a Walmart. He goes to check out. He scans his palm.
literally and so like people are walking by and like people are like and I'm just having a conversation with this guy. And then
Now imagine if you were having that conversation in North Korea, or what people believe is North Korea.
right.
The police would come and pull you away.
Right.
Is that what people want in this reality? Is for that to happen? Like literally, you get a knock on your door later, and you're like, "I know you were talking to Joe yesterday in the Whole Foods." Like,
I'm like, oh no,
that's what people want.
I don't agree with Joe. But anyway, that other guy came back, and when he says like, oh, I got that information too. The guy in the Saints jersey goes, what did you do? And the guy I'm talking to goes, I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. And the Saints jersey guy just like takes off. Literally, just he went this way. He like comes around me, turns around, comes back towards us, and then leaves the same way that he came. Like he's not even going down this aisle, apparently. He just like came for the conversation and just leaves. And then the guy I'm talking to says, see, he didn't want to talk. He didn't want to hear the truth. And he just continues on. And I just thought that was so hilarious because this guy was just like, because afterwards I saw people coming into Whole Foods wearing masks. And I'm like, why?
In Florida?
Yeah. I'm like, what is, and like a grown man, you know, right? Look, he looked like a grown man anyway, but I was
I like how you call him a grown man.
He looked grown.
Not one of these prematurely growth stunted men that we are so familiar with.
Anyway, I was telling Christine about it, and I was just telling her like it's so interesting because men today have become like so I guess feminized would be the word of just like, because most people would not, and this guy he wanted to like hand me pamphlets of, you know, something of just like, oh, so man, if you're into this, here, let me give you this. It's got my contact information on the back. And then like I flipped through it and it's like one of these like Jesus Christ comic books. You know what I'm talking about? Like the little things that like a Jehovah's
The
Witness
pandemic guy give you that?
Yeah. He's like, keep the faith. I'm like, all right, well, thanks for this.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was just telling Christine about how scared people like our age would be to do that, you know, to just have an open conversation like that, or to share like their like, or confront somebody or anything like that. Like people our age aren't capable of doing that right now.
Yeah.
Because they've been so like, especially the guys have just been so programmed to worry about what other people think of them.
Yeah.
And you know, like, oh, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or whatever. This guy gave no fucks. No fucks.
Yeah.
It was awesome because he was just like, this other guy came head on and he was like, hey, let me tell you, you're wrong. Fuck you. Bye. It was great.
Fuck you.
It was great.
You know, I was just thinking that when you brought up the Jesus thing, it's like I saw right before we started recording, there was this thing with some former congressman, and he was showing how like a couple of people in his family, like not his direct family, but like cousins or whatever, were like killed in some apparent Israeli airstrike that hit part of a church or something, and like people in there died or whatever. And I was just looking at that point of like, what is the end goal for people who have this faith?
To make it to heaven.
Right, but that's it. Like, what is the point of it? It's like, so the whole thing is a big test. What about the people who got killed? Well, they go to heaven. They just go straight to heaven. So what was the point of any of this?
It's called insurance. Cam.
Like, you're in a fucking church and you're not even protected.
Have you ever bought insurance before?
Yeah.
Okay, so well then that's it. That's the same thing heaven is.
Got it.
You believe in this religion and you've got your fire insurance.
Hey, I was listening to Owen Benjamin, and he made this point, and I was like, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah. What do you say?
The whole idea that these terrorist Muslim guys, like when they blow up or whatever, they get like 72 virgins or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Right? That's propaganda.
Well, obviously.
Like, doesn't it make you think like, oh, these idiots, they're just all sexually deviant and they just want to fuck virgins, and that's why they're like blowing themselves up? Isn't that kind of like what it plants in people's minds? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it doesn't matter. They're willing to do it because they know Allah's going to give them 72 virgins when they get to heaven. That's like the whole, it's like a mind virus that gets you be like, oh, these animals, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't look into it. I just heard the comment he made, and I was like, this makes perfect sense. It's like, it's probably more like something about if you martyr yourself or whatever, like God intercedes on your behalf and like protects like 72 innocent people or something. I don't know the details of it, but it's more like it's not virgins. It's like innocent people who are, like, so it's like you're giving up your life to protect 72 other people, or like, or God like forgives them because of your deed. I'm not saying it makes sense.
No,
I'm just
that
saying,
does make sense though.
But when you hear it's kind of like the whole Jesus. Sorry. When I think of Jesus, I automatically think of Trump. It's like when Trump said, that whole thing about all Mexicans are rapists. And you're like, really? But then you find out that's literally not at all what he said. Or the very fine people hoax or something. It's like, okay, so what was I being manipulated by? Or what was the purpose behind the manipulation?
That makes sense. Because it's like, because it's a selfish point is what you're thinking. Like, oh, you're doing this selfishly, versus the way that they're taught is like, I'm doing this on behalf of 72 others. Like my life,
which doesn't justify the retardedness of blowing yourself up, but it's the point of what it makes you think about Muslim people. It's like where it takes you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have this idea that Islam is the religion of like warfare and all this stuff, and it's like, see, it's like, have you heard of Judaism? Have you heard of Christianity? Have you heard of fucking Buddhism? Like anything? Like, give me a break.
Buddhist?
Well, that's not the real religion. No, I know it's not the real religion, but no one fucking follows the real religion.
Yeah, it's like this Giannis guy talking about real Marxism. It's like, none of this Marxism is the real Marxism. Okay, I've heard that.
I know, and they say that, but then I was listening to Michael Malice on Lex Friedman, and he has a book about, I don't know if this is a recent one, because sometimes it's just randomly, I wasn't even looking at it, so I don't know how old the interview was, but he was talking about, the Soviet Union and the Cold War and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, when I look at the whole Marxism thing, it's like, how much was the guy actually advocating to do anything versus he was just saying like capitalism is going to go by the wayside and here's where it's going to lead to eventually and all this stuff, Yeah. And then people took that and then take action with it.
Yeah.
And then turn it into something. So his kind of whole point was like, well, what the Marxists did with the people who called themselves Marxists later, what they did with it,
Right.
So it's like it's like if you come up with a mathematical theory and then someone uses that mathematical theory to build a bomb.
Yeah, like
you didn't necessarily say build bombs in your mathematical theory. You see what I'm saying?
Like you come up with the Pythagorean theorem and then like all these people start measuring triangles with it and shit. So.
Yeah. It's like the whole point about capitalism. What's really cool about it is not so much the capital point. It's the point of you can create something and you can have a way of getting it to people who need it. Mm-hmm. It's just all of the self-interest fucks it all up. Because the whole idea of capital is like, okay, if I can amass capital, I can utilize that to gain more and more power and more control. That's where the problem comes in. It's like that desire to control people.
Yeah.
And the inequality of education. So you have so whether it's the feudalism, whether it's capitalism, whether it's Marxism, or it's neo-feudalism, techno-feudalism, whatever, the underlying problem with all of it is because, ultimately, wouldn't it be cool to have your computer be able to be like, hey, you're looking for something, here's exactly what you need. And you should be able to look at it objectively and be like, okay, is this actually what I need? or is it just playing on some emotional point? But if that emotional point isn't there, how can the computer manipulate you? It can only manipulate you if within you you have some kind of, it's like with the Jada Pinkett Smith thing. It's like she just wanted to feel good. Right. So was it really about the healing and all that stuff, or was it like, oh, I'm gonna feel really good?
She's gonna feel really good.
You see what I'm saying? So
has equated feeling good to healing.
So is like, is the whole Amazon customer centric stuff, when they say all that, is it really about what is best for the customer, or is it really about what I can get them to buy based on, hey, and if they're doing it on emotions, that's up to them. You know what I mean? And that's not like blaming Amazon. It's been the story forever, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of these things are cool. Like I was trying to fix this carburetor on this little kids ATV thing, and I'm like,
what is this, 1985?
Why?
They don't make carburetors anymore.
Well, on the small engines, you still have carburetors. I'm not going to get fuel injection for my freaking looking around. What do I have? Wood chipper. I don't know. But dude, that reminds me. So I didn't know anything about carburetors. This is a cool vocabulary lesson. And so we have these little Yamaha ATVs, these little 90cc ATVs for kids, right? And one of them wouldn't start. Both of them wouldn't start. So I talked to a neighbor, and he said, try just putting fresh gas in it, and I think maybe some like injection cleaner into it, and that allowed one of them to work. The other one, I never really got to test it because the battery was dead. So I had to get a new battery, and I just put it off for a long time. Finally, I got the new battery. It would, like you can hear it trying to start, but there's nothing turning over. Okay, the engine. I'm like, all right, so what's going on here? And then somebody, maybe it was my neighbor or some, I don't remember how I figured. Oh, I think I just looked it up, and it was like something, the carburetor needs to be cleaned. So I'm like, well, fuck, I don't know how to do that. And it's like a part on the engine. So if I take that apart, am I gonna be able to put it back together? I don't know. So I looked up a video of a guy just taking the carburetor off and taking it apart. He doesn't show every detail, but he shows enough where I was like, okay, if I have some time, I can do that. So I ended up doing that, took the carburetor off, right? I put it in some solution, cleaned it, unscrewed everything, put everything back. I mean, it's not like so complicated that you can't get everything back properly. It's I know I put it back together properly, but the thing still doesn't start. And when I do the throttle, or when I try to start it, like there's this line that comes out of the bottom of the carburetor that has a tube, and like fuel just like is just pouring out. And it's designed to do that under certain circumstances. But I didn't understand why. And I'm sure somebody watching who's like some mechanically minded person might know the issue. But I talked to a different neighbor who like has like some kind of motorcycle he restored. So I'm like, he probably does. So he gave me some advice to look into. But anyways, the cool thing about it was I was online on YouTube or something. And because I had been searching about carburetors, now YouTube is recommending videos about carburetors to me, right? And I found this video from have you ever seen Smarter Every Day?
Yeah.
This guy who's like an engineer, and he like makes really cool videos, and he has like a what they call slow motion camera, and he does like really cool videos. The kids like watched a few of his stuff.
I'm pretty sure that's the same guy who made like a bike that when you turn it to the left,
yes,
it goes to the right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a backwards bike, and it's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I've downloaded some stuff from him before for the kids. So I watched this video where he's like, I want to understand how a carburetor works. He's like, I studied it in engineering. Like I know how a carburetor works, but I want to know what's really going on inside of it. So he ends up creating through a 3D printing process, like essentially a carburetor made of some kind of plastic that you can see everything inside of it.
Oh.
And it has the same functionality. And his dad like is really good at machines and stuff. And so like they like work together, and they do it, and they slow motion, like zoom in on all the different parts, and you can see like everything happening. And it was so fascinating, man, like seeing the actual inner working of it. Because when you're looking at the thing, even though you can take it apart, for the most part, you still can't see everything. You don't know what's happening when the thing is actually, the engine's on.
Right.
But going through and seeing all of that, and seeing what is the choke doing? What is the throttle doing? What is, when the fuel comes up, like what's actually happening? What is the purpose of the carburetor? All that.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, oh, now I can see what the issue is. I don't necessarily know how to fix it, because there's a lot of potential things that could be the issue that you have to kind of go through and check and everything. But having that vocabulary of seeing like, okay, now I understand what this thing is versus before it's like, it's the thing on the thing and I need to clean it, I guess, and put it back. Why isn't it working? Versus even though I don't fully know exactly what the issue is, I understand the basic components of it. So now I'm like, okay, it's either this part or this part or this part, because that would be causing these issues because here's what the thing does. You see what I mean? But the video was like, I watched it and I showed it to the kids and they thought it was really cool too. And then it was cool because later I was working on the little ATV and Seneca comes out and she's like, so where's the carburetor on here? Right. And I'm like showing it to her and she's like, oh, and I was showing her like when, in that video, because they made everything out of plastic, when they turned the engine on, the guy's dad is like holding down the throttle switch because he said if he lets it go, the engine just keeps sucking because it does like an intake point where it like sucks the fuel and the air into the engine, which is on purpose. But because the throttle switch was so flimsy that they made, it would just keep sucking. It would just stay open. And the guy was like, if we don't hold it, the engine's just going to keep sucking air and like spinning up and like it'll destroy the engine. He said because factory made engines and carburetors and the throttles and so forth are designed so that it can't just keep like spinning up faster and faster and faster. There's like things that limit how fast it can spin up, because if the engine spins too fast, it'll fly apart.
Yeah.
And so he goes over to like one of his like, like a tiller or something. He's like, feel the throttle. You feel how hard it is to push it. Not like it's like extremely hard. It's just, there's a lot of resistance. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't just like, it's like you have to like push it. Right. And it stays where you push it. He's like, that's because so that the engine doesn't suck the throttle all the way open and it just stays open and just keeps sucking more and more, too much, right? Fuel and stuff into it. Because you're just giving more fuel to the engine. And then I was like, oh, Seneca, you know how sometimes you're complaining when you're trying to ride that ATV, how it hurts your thumb after a while because you have to like hold the throttle open. And I said, that's why it's designed that way. And yes, I know it's annoying because you don't have the strength yet to always just do it. And even me, like when we drive around the ATVs, like your thumb gets fatigued after a while.
Yeah.
But if it was super easy to do it, the engine would destroy itself. So you start to see like there's a reasoning behind things that you didn't even know. You thought it was a problem or whatever, but there's a reasoning behind it based on the design of it and so forth, right?
Wow, so interesting, because like I'm just thinking of like all the things that we complain about as consumers. It's like, oh, why is this like this? Why is that like that? But if we actually understood, if we could all look at it this way, if everyone was educated to understand how this works or that works, or at least understand the basics, right? Then we could have the conversation of like, this isn't a flaw, this is a feature. This isn't a bug, this is a feature, right?
Yeah.
But also everyone would also be educated enough to the point where we could go, hey, look, we don't have, or this thing breaks down too easily. And I know this is too easy.
It's like people going like, we need to change the school system. Why don't you just take Techno Tutor and take it to the school system? It's like, dude, that's why I'm saying like, it's like going to a sweatshop and being like, hey, I have a way for all your sweatshop people to like be entrepreneurs. Why would the person want that?
Or even
so it's like, not a bug. It is a feature. It's like, so when you understand which thing, just because something is designed a certain way doesn't mean it's best.
Yeah.
In this case, it makes sense. The throttle thing is best for the engine for it to be that way, even though it seems like an inconvenience.
Yeah.
But in this case, you have a convenience that is actually not best, which is like the school system, daycare, all these points, right?
Right. Like Latanya just made another video. Shout out Latanya. Of basically how the school system is used to dumb people down and everything, right? And then a whole bunch of comments on her video. I'm like, so you're basically just arguing for funding the schools. Like, no, the fuck, she's not. Like that, she didn't.
Yeah, we need more money to dumb people down faster, right?
Yeah, like what the fuck? Like you clearly don't get it. Like you are.
Well, also it shows real quick. Let me go back to the carburetor thing.
Yeah.
The person who's educated doesn't necessarily know. So like that guy, as far as I understand, I think his name is Dustin. He has like a degree or maybe multiple degrees or whatever, like in mechanical engineering, as far as I just from context. His dad, I don't know if he has an engineering degree, but like he has like a shop at his house, all his machine, you could tell the guy's like one of those hands-on, like he knows what the fuck he's doing experientially kind of thing.
Right.
And he was the guy who's like, because Dustin, the guy who runs the channel, was like, because when the dad was saying I have to hold my hand on the throttle, otherwise it'll run away. Dustin was like, oh well, let's just let it do it. Let's do that. Will it keep going? And dad was like, yeah. And he's like, well, let's just let it go. And he goes, well, like it'll run away. Like, you know, we don't want it to do that. You know, and you could see Dustin couldn't see why is that a problem.
Yeah.
And the father was, you know, not like in a tutor way, like explaining. He was just kind of like, well, so he had to like kind of like draw out of him like, why is it a problem? Because to him it was obvious. It wasn't obvious to the other guy.
Yeah.
Because he was like, look, if and that's when he started explaining why the throttles have, and there's governors, there's all kinds of things in an engine to keep it from going too fast.
Right.
Right. Like I always thought, like, because I remember when I was growing up, my dad said something about there was some car, like we borrowed a friend's car, and it was like a Mitsubishi Eclipse, and or I think that's what it was, and it was like the Spider, whatever, not an Eclipse, it was like the GT, whatever. It was like really fast car.
Sure.
Anyways, and I remember him telling me, because you can see the speedometer went up really high, right?
Yeah.
So it started me thinking about speedometers, and I was looking at our car, and I'm like, look, says our car can go 120. And the dad's like, no, it can't go that fast because it has a governor or something or whatever. And I was just like, oh, what the hell? Like, that's just some bullshit regulation thing. Like thinking about it like that, that the way he framed it was like, they don't want you to go that fast.
Yeah, that's the way I understood governors as well.
Right. But the reality of it is you don't want the engine to go too fast. It could break the engine. And maybe in some cases it is a government law where they're just trying to limit you or something. That is possible, I'm sure, too. Some level of it. But it was interesting because like the father was like, you know, if you let it run away, the engine will just get faster and faster, sucking more and more air, because every time it does a stroke on the cycle, it's sucking air in. So the faster it's going, it's going to suck in more. It's just like going to feed back. And he had to explicitly say, like, if we do that, this engine could fly apart and destroy, or like internally or whatever. So then Dustin was like, oh, okay. Because he was like, yeah, just let it go. Like, let it run. Like, why does it matter? Right. And it's kind of like you have the experts who have been trained in school and have the degrees and all this stuff, who are like acting as if they know everything. But here's a perfect example. This guy's a smart guy. He does engineering. He creates all kinds of shit. And he didn't understand the basic point. Not because he's stupid, because he just didn't know. Like, no, there's a reason why you don't want to just let that thing fucking go to town, and why carburetors are designed in factories.
Are you trying to say there's a reason why we shouldn't take an experimental, like mRNA thing?
Well, hold on. Allegedly.
Listen.
Allegedly experimental?
Allegedly, we should take.
Okay. Yeah, and like the same dose for every person, right?
Right, exactly the same. No nuance. No nuance. Never nuance.
Everybody should
got it,
be doing this.
But yeah, it's kind of that same point. It's just like the experts.
Confirm that was what I should draw from that. Got it.
The experts are brainwashed by their expertise. And the thing
is, we get a lot of money from Pfizer if we got sponsored by Pfizer, but that's a tangent.
It's true.
They love us.
But doesn't mean that they're always wrong. Like when I took Max to the dentist, like this doctor, he knew what the fuck he was doing. That doesn't mean I would take all of his advice on every single thing. But when it came down to the physical things that he needed to do, he was very effective. He was very good at what he was doing. It's just like, but he doesn't make all the decisions. It's like he gives us information. You have another person, you get a second opinion, you look at that, you put it all together, you ask a lot of questions, right? They explain what they know, right? But then you don't, it's not about like every expert is automatically wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Because, we're at the dentist, and like it was really interesting because they were like, you don't need to explain what we're going to do. Because in their experience, the kids are really dumb. And if you tell them what you're going to do, the kids are going to freak out. By me explaining to Max and us doing our Techno tutor and all the words, like he was extremely comfortable doing like dental stuff, which most kids would hate the dentist, right? And it was really interesting too, because when we were there, they had these little TV screens where the kids can lay down and watch TV. And the dentist and Max was like laughing at one point in the show or whatever, because I'm like, it's fine. Like he showed when we got there, they were like, what TV show do you want? And Max was like, well, I don't know. And so they turned on Netflix, and I'm just kind of like watching, right? And Max sees Bluey, and he's like, oh yeah, I'll watch that one, because that was the one that had been playing in the other room, right?
Okay.
And I had to watch a little bit, so I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal in this context, right? It's just a limited thing. And anyways, it was playing, and then there was a certain point where the doctor was like, what's your favorite episode? And Max was like, I don't know, this is the only one I've seen. And he was like, oh, and he made a joke about how he's seen like all of them like 30 times because, you know, the kids are watching or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting because I see how dumbed down kids are, and just not just school. Like when we talked about this at length, I know, but I overheard this parent the other day telling their kid about something about left and right. They were doing something. Oh, like the grandma was telling the girl there was some toy and she was saying something, and then she like turned it on the left or whatever. And the girl was like, which one's my left? And I heard the mom go, well, so they told her, but then they said, see, look at your hands. This one makes an L. So that's your left, right? And I was talking to Max about it, and I was like, notice how, and the girl must have been like, I had to guess like maybe 4 or 5, just based on listening to the way she talked, maybe younger. I'm not really certain. But I was like talking to Max about it. I'm like, now notice, how does a child that young who doesn't have the letters integrated, how do they know which one of these is an L?
Cameron, I'm looking at you right now, and I can tell that one over there.
Right? But do you see my point? It's like, which one, how do you know which one is an L? Is this an L or is this an L? Which one is the L? Right? And so if you're trying, so I was explaining to Max, like, notice from a young age, you knew the letters, but also we're not teaching you the little tricks, because imagine you're having to think about it. Like you're trying to drive and you're like, left, right, left, L is, but you don't even have the letters integrated. So you wouldn't know which one is left. Like, why don't you just know, if you can know this is L, why can't you just know this is left?
Right.
Isn't it the same point? Like if you have the knowledge integrated.
Yeah.
And so it was just showing the level to which we have to, it's like it's not compromise. I'm not sure what the word would be. It's like, I was gonna say cope. It's like we're coping with the fact that you just don't have the information within you.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get all these tips and tricks and so forth to try to memorize something, which means you'll have to think about it instead of just knowing it.
Yeah.
You know? And so the school system is all based on all that. Whereas the dad just knew how the fuck carburetors work. This other guy's having to think about it, even though he studied it in school and went to engineering school and all that stuff. But there's a difference between knowing something and then memorizing, where you're thinking, it's like you think you know it, but you don't really know.
But I know all the math equations.
Yeah, I know the Pythagorean theorem. I remember that one. It's like the a squared equals b squared plus c squared, or right? Or is it the c is the b and the b is after?
You just know the Pythagorean theorem because I said it earlier. That's all.
Actually, most people don't even know the actual Pythagorean theorem.
Actually, most people don't even know who Pythagoras is.
Actually, I like to say the actual Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. All right. I got you.
I think I said it right. I memorized it. But they call it the law of cosines, right?
Yeah.
That's the formula.
You know, so what's interesting
When
is
cosine, when it's a 90-degree angle, cosine is just 0.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then it's just a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
There's a I'm not gonna get into it actually.
Mitch, as soon as I start talking about trigonometry, Mitch leaves.
Mitch is gone. He's like, fuck that. No way. But I was just looking at the point of, people are so uneducated that they're willing to go along with life as it is currently. It's like, can you imagine actually being around during medieval times or during, like, long
We
ago.
won't have to imagine it for much longer. Can you imagine being in medieval times, but you have phones? Oh, welcome to Techno Futilism.
But can you imagine being around during like a time when there, people weren't as smart, right? And you're like, and the systems weren't in place the way that they are now. And just imagining, okay, what would you be able to do with the information that you have now, with the knowledge that you have now, right? Wouldn't you be able to, or even just going to like a third world country?
You couldn't
right now?
even make a pandemic shirt because they didn't have fucking textiles like on a loom that you could just quickly
Called
manufacture.
a
and, like,
tattoo, Cameron.
you'd spend like basically 30 years weaving a shirt.
Yeah.
No, tattoo it on you. Show you're really down with the cause.
Pandemic tattoos.
But then no one can read. Shit.
Oh, true.
Like, what is
It
that?
wouldn't really matter.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why you just got the cross. Show the cross.
Imagine going into like some remote area where people don't know the things that you know. Wouldn't you be able to like take advantage, and not necessarily in a bad way, but like, wouldn't you be able to take advantage of like, oh, you guys don't know this. I can set this up for you. I can do this. And you'll be the guy, the go-to guy who like has all the information, and who's able to like, all right, we're doing this now. And everyone's like, yeah, this guy gets it. He's awesome. I love all the things that he does, right? Okay. If you can see that, you have to realize that we aren't in that time right now, obviously, right? But the thing is that people keep going along with, like, people are so uneducated. Okay. We're part of that time right now, but also at the same time, how do I say this? The vast majority of people in society are the people who don't know any better. And so they're just going to continue going along with what is here. Does that make sense? Like, okay.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is this. Where we're going to is like the destiny, all the equal stuff, like actually study all that stuff. The only reason why, and what I mean by that is a world that's best for all, a world that's best for all. The only reason why we're still here in this world, or not in this world, but in this situation where we live in this now coming feudalism and, people being taken advantage all the time, and literally people starving to death on a daily basis, 25,000 at a time, when there's literally billions of pounds of food. Actually, somebody made this post the other day. They said, so I've always said like billions of pounds of food are thrown away every year. This person was making the point that it's 7 billion pounds a day
Thrown away
of food loss or waste.
Well,
7 billion pounds a day. You don't think that would have an effect? If everyone could eat that food, like if that wasn't wasted, and why is it wasted? Like, we already know, literally, the FDA or whoever the governing body is will come in and they'll just say, hey, listen, mostly it's probably like the Department of Agriculture probably comes in, and they're the ones that say, listen, we have too much meat on the market. You're not going to have, you got to throw out this meat. You got to throw out this milk. You got to throw out this whatever, because it's just going to drive the price of this way down. So throw it away. It's like, but
Just give it away to the poor people. I mean, they can't pay for it.
Why? Right.
You know what? I was just thinking, like, if anyone is like, well, but eventually with all the technology, they don't get there. Well, it's like, hold on, look at Israel-Palestine thing.
yes.
Like,
exactly.
why isn't the international response like, hold on, everybody, slow down. Okay, fuck the terrorists, kill them. Okay, but why aren't we just like, let's have like amazing luxury and stuff for all the Palestinian people, just like the same as the Israeli people? Like, why not just do that?
This is the point that I was going to bring.
It's the technology is there. It's like they could do it, physically do it.
You know how you said that point about like Joe Biden, or like basically the media saying, okay, what is the people saying? And then let's say that, right? Like what do they want? Okay, say that. that's the whole point that Giannis was making with how we're training the Alexa or the Google or the whatever to suggest to us things that we want, and then training it again on, okay, I like this, I didn't like that. And then it trains us that it's really good at suggesting the things that we want, to the point where now it's suggesting to us things that we didn't know we wanted, but we do want. Like it knows us intimately well. And it's the
Yeah,
same
there's very
thing-
few things when you scroll through your Amazon, you're like, I don't want that. You may
Right.
not buy it because you're like, so why am I going to spend money on that? But you're like, oh yeah, I want that. I want that.
But it's like the algorithm.
Christmas every day, isn't that the law of attraction's promise?
There you go. Yeah.
It'll be like Christmas every day. This is what the law of attraction has brought humanity. Oh, hey, real quick, while you're saying that, here, let me show you
Wow.
something.
Yeah.
So
The,
real.
the algorithm is basically such that like even our media is that. So it's like we're being shown things to buy and consume based on what we want and our desires, and then what they give to us. And even our media is the same, even our news, even our politicians, our entire world has become that. What were we gonna show?
It's just more sophisticated now,
Yeah.
and it's automated.
Yeah.
I typed in Techno Futilism to Midjourney. Actually, it gave
Ooh.
Are
Oh,
they
I like
eating
that one. It's got
beans?
is that strings coming from the sky?
I like
I
that.
think they're like antenna.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are
The
they're like
bottom left
antenna.
one. That bottom left one is, it's like a cover for a movie.
a cover from a movie from the 80s.
Look at these like peasants,
Yeah. Working with
and
the
then
robots.
like the
That's
robots.
some crazy shit. I'm still baffled by Midjourney.
I think the bottom left one's the best one, honestly.
I like this one on the right. These seats are like they pulled them out of a van or something.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck?
Would it be cool to have a little seat like that with wheels that could just drive around anywhere? Oh, that's like a rascal scooter, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. That's funny.
Look at these guys.
I forgot. Wow. I just had a flashback when he said, I don't know what a rascal scooter is, but in my elementary school, we
Go
had,
to Walmart, you'll see one.
oh, I was like, oh, what are
It's
those?
like the pre-techno feudalism version of those ones on Wally.
Wally? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a flashback. I forgot about this for years, but when you said scooter, it was, do y'all ever have that in gym class where like, it
Oh,
was like
yeah.
those
There's
scooters
things
you
that
sit
you
on
like.
and they have 4 wheels?
Yeah. And then like you'd like
That shit
Yeah,
was so fun.
maneuver.
Well, because then
That was a lot of
some
fun.
kids figured out you could put your knee on it, so you could go way faster because you could get way more like force behind it.
Yeah.
That shit was fun. That
Mm.
was when I first went into my mind because I was like, I'm gonna be the best fucking person in gym class.
That was the first time you went into your mind. Really?
Nah, just kidding. It's Power Rangers.
I wasn't the first.
Yeah, what was everyone's first time they went super into their mind? Pokemon or Power Rangers? But it would have been Power Rangers. That was previous.
I don't know.
Yeah, the
But-
first time I saw the Power Rangers doing those fucking moves.
I mean, you're just saying like the first time you had an experience where you were like really obsessed with something.
Yeah. And like you could tell you like separated from physical reality and you like went into like acting out some character.
I couldn't tell you.
Drake,
Okay.
it's like church, the sermon. I came home and I started standing on the couch preaching.
Hello, yes. Yeah. That's
Well,
pretty much.
well.
Those were the things I wanted to talk about.
Well, I would just encourage everyone listening to this to really look at like what are the characters, right? Whether it be the Will Smith thing that stimulated it, if it's the I mean, geez, we covered so many things. But like the whole
Even
Hollywood,
even the character of like I'm gonna save the world, but just by talking about it, thinking about it, not by actually
right,
supporting
making
people.
Facebook posts and shit.
Like I was just talking with like Katie this morning.
Wait,
She was like,
I can't do that. You're saying that's not good?
okay, you can do it through talking about it, but there's a difference between talking about it and talking about it, if that makes sense.
I just want to talk about it.
Just posting a meme complaining about the World Economic Forum
That's
it's not going to
acceptable,
change
right?
anything. So talking is the solution. Don't get me wrong. Don't go all Gaza over here, okay? That's not. But protesting isn't going to change anything.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Starting point.
There was a point that I wanted to finish, but I forgot what the point was. Yeah.
Open
See,
loop. I like
Next
it.
podcast.
The starting point is the ending point. So you're already at the end.
No, we're
Before
at
you
the end
start.
now.
And you started with like, hey, what do you want to talk about? And now you're like, what are we talking
What do
about?
I want to talk about?
But I want to talk. What is it that I want to fucking talk
Full
about?
circle.
Damn it, guys. But no, there's definitely a point about before you showed us the techno feudalism thing. What were we talking about? Before the algorithm thing, what were we talking
I
about?
was just trying to interrupt you.
It worked. Oh. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's there. I feel it. It's there. It's like I feel it right here in my brain.
Steam, hit the recording off. Do it. Before you can get it out.
Oh. I forgot. Whatever. Fuck it.
Good.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys all the next podcast. Yeah. So upset. All right. Bye.
Cliffhanger.
She's not going to.